Part 62. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 616. In the Black Mountain Forbidden Area, there are thick trees. Not only is there a forbidden air ban here, but the gravity is also different from other places. The trees growing here are all as hard as steel. Chen Ronghuo stepped on the dark land under his feet. As soon as he stepped into this forbidden area, he felt a series of prying eyes. He snorted coldly, looked at the Black Mountain in the distance like a huge horn, and walked straight into the depths of the Black Mountain Forbidden Area. That Black Mountain is extraordinary. According to the identification of ancient books, it is actually a horn deliberately shed by a god. It's just that Chen Ronghuo's cultivation is not enough now. Otherwise, he can take it out and refine it into a god-level secret treasure. Chen Ronghuo walked step by step into the depths of the Black Mountain. The last time he came here, he was still at the 4th level, and now he has reached the 5th level. And he is still at the 58th level, not far from the peak of the 5th level. A layer of grey armor was draped over him. He held the Chaos Armor sword upside down and drew a thin sword mark on the ground. A group of young cows, they actually have some intelligence. As he walked, Chen Ronghuo frowned. At this time, he had been walking in the forest for 5 or 6 minutes. In these 5 or 6 minutes, he only encountered a few demonized creatures with weak strength. As for the group of cow-headed monsters he met before, he didn't encounter any of them. Chen Ronghuo stopped and calculated through ancient books. He suddenly found that there were cow-headed monsters all around him. Especially the road he came from was completely blocked. Apparently, after these monsters found that he came here again, they dispersed and surrounded him. Interesting. Chen Ronghuo stopped and didn't move forward. He waited here. These cow-headed monsters had such intelligence and wanted to surround and kill him in one fell swoop, so he planned to use their tricks against them. After these ox-headed monsters gather together, kill them all at once and gain experience points. Boom boom boom. Chen Ronghuo only waited for a short time before he heard a deafening sound of running coming from all directions. When the sound rang out, even the ground under his feet shook violently. Hearing the movement, Chen Ronghuo's expression became stern. He dared not be as casual as before. These ox-headed monsters have special talents, and living in such an environment, each of them is extremely powerful. If he is besieged, even if he has broken through to the 5th level, he must go all out. These ox-headed monsters are equal to him in terms of the Great Realm. Boom boom boom. Suddenly, Chen Ronghuo raised his eyebrows. After seeing a cloud of dust approaching in the distance, he suddenly saw that the big trees hundreds of meters away from him actually fell down one by one. After those big trees fell, there was a bigger cloud of dust in his eyes. In addition, the rumbling noise became even louder. Chen Ronghuo released his soul power and sensed the distance. After a moment, his heart jumped slightly. He discovered through his soul power that those ox-headed monsters actually pushed down a lot of trees after running more than 100 meters away from him. Then they grabbed those big trees and used them as weapons to run towards him. MMP. Chen Ronghuo really felt that he had underestimated these monsters. But he was not afraid. He had reached the 5th level of cultivation, so he was not without the power to fight. Boom. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo took a step forward and rushed towards the ox-headed monster in one direction. While running, Chen Ronghuo used the magic secret technique, and his whole body expanded and became a giant 3 or 4 meters tall. One step down, it was dozens of meters. The magic secret technique was a powerful secret technique he created when he cultivated to an extremely strong realm before. Many of the secret arts he created could not be used because the laws he was practicing were different from before. However, the 3 secret arts of magic power, magic soul, and magic flame could still be used because he chose to continue practicing again this time. Especially after Chen Ronghuo's cultivation reached the 5th level, these secret arts began to be truly exerted by him. With the explosive increase in power, Chen Ronghuo was like a violent hurricane. In an instant, he rushed to a bull-headed monster with a huge chaos armor sword that had grown with him. Bang! Chen Ronghuo jumped high, and in the air, he raised his sword with both hands. With a bang, he chopped it down with a strong wind. Moo! The bull-headed monster, who was the first to bear the brunt, had bloodshot eyes, roared, raised the big tree in his hand, and hit Chen Ronghuo in the air fiercely. The huge shadow of the tree blocked the sunlight in front of Chen Ronghuo, as if it was an ancient sacred tree, and it seemed to knock him down to the ground. But Chen Ronghuo's eyes were bright, and he looked carefully, but he couldn't find the shadow of the big tree. In his eyes, there was only the bull-headed monster standing on the ground, holding the big tree and roaring at him. Swish! The sharp sword light fell, and the hard ancient tree in front of Chen Ronghuo was instantly split into two halves by Chen Ronghuo's sharp sword light, and a passage appeared between Chen Ronghuo and the bull-headed monster. Just as the passage appeared, the power of Chen Ronghuo's sword had not dissipated, and he continued to slash at the bull-headed monster. Chen Ronghuo, who was in mid-air and seemed to have no place to borrow strength, suddenly broke the routine and withdrew his strength. Then he slashed the second sword at the bull-headed monster. Moo! The bull-headed monster roared in fear, but this was the last roar he could make. After his roar, Chen Ronghuo had combined his two swords into one, and with a swish, he split him in half. After killing a 5th-level bull-headed monster with two swords, Chen Ronghuo was not red in the face or out of breath, which was completely different from when he killed these bull-headed monsters at the 4th level. Moo moo moo. Seeing that Chen Ronghuo had killed another member of their clan, the remaining bull-headed monsters roared in anger and rushed towards Chen Ronghuo. They looked like they were going to beat Chen Ronghuo into a bloody mess. Especially the roars they made, which were connected to the sky and the ground, as if they could shake people's souls. Bang! Chen Ronghuo landed on the ground, and continued to move forward with his sword without stopping. These ox-headed monsters are very strong, especially in this special environment. But he cultivates powerful laws. He is a powerful warrior. If anyone in the same level can restrain these ox-headed monsters, it must be him. Kill! Chen Ronghuo shouted. The word kill soared into the sky. He exuded an extremely strong murderous aura. Under the roar of these ox-headed monsters, he moved freely, countering the angry fighting spirit of the ox-headed monsters with murderous aura, showing the ability of a god or a demon. Swish, swish, swish. Chen Ronghuo's figure rushed left and right in the Black Mountain Forbidden Land, killing one ox-headed monster after another in this forbidden land. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 617. In the forbidden area of the Black Mountain with towering ancient trees, a figure looks like a ferocious predator at the top of the food chain. Holding a knife in his hand, he rushes left and right, killing monsters with the head of a minotaur and falling under the giant sword in his hand. He is brutal and ferocious. Shocked. The other demons in the forest were stimulated by the strong smell of blood and the astonishing sound of fighting, and they fled away one after another, looking extremely embarrassed. In just 5 or 6 minutes, more than 20 level 5 bull-headed monsters died in Chen Ronghuo's hands. The total number of bull-headed monsters in this mountain forest is estimated to be only 200 to 300. It can be said that in a short period of time, 1/10 of the number was killed by Chen Ronghuo. Even if placed outside, these 20-odd 5th-level demons are definitely a considerable force. In a sect like Purple Thunder sect, there are probably only 200 to 300 5th-level cultivators in total. As expected of a god, he left a place of inheritance for himself. During the killing, Chen Ronghuo looked up at the Black Mountain peaks in the distance and sneered. With the killing, his murderous aura surged, and his strength seemed to have increased invisibly. This forbidden place is actually a backup left by a god before reincarnation. At the same time, in the God's game, there are probably many nearby high-level NPCs who know this place. It's just that because of the rules of the game, they can't make any plans here. As for the players, at this stage, there are probably only a few players who dare to be as arrogant as Chen Ronghuo, break into this place and face hundreds of 5th-level bull-headed monsters. Otherwise, the inheritance place of a god would have been emptied out countless years ago, or after the game started. Amidst the sneer, Chen Ronghuo swung his sword in a flash, without unnecessary movements, and each sword was simple and clear. But every sword he struck was a life-threatening sword. The group of bull-headed monsters surrounding him were killed so much that they were bleeding and howling miserably. As he advanced to the 5th level, these bull-headed monsters could no longer chase him like before and had to escape from here in embarrassment. Kill, kill, kill. Chen Ronghuo looked at his experience value, which was rising more and more. He was getting closer and closer to the 6th level, and the sword in his hand became more and more powerful. It was as if he could cut off even a mountain peak in front of him with one sword. But in fact, if it weren't for the special nature of this Black Mountain Forbidden Land, every time he struck with his sword energy alone would be able to plow deep ravines on this land. If he were outside, even if there was a mountain standing in front of him, it would not be impossible for him to split the mountain with his sword. Moo moo. The monsters with the heads of minotaurs roared angrily. They are different from ordinary demonized beings. The whole race, that's all. Even if you die, it will not be refreshed. But after they were born, they determined their mission. That is to protect this place for their gods. Compared with protecting this place, they don't care even if they die. But now, they looked at the terrifying strength displayed by Chen Ronghuo, but they were horrified. They didn't know if they could stop Chen Ronghuo after exhausting the strength of the entire clan. Swish, brush, brush. Chen Ronghuo's sword light was like a divine light from the sky. Every time it flickered, every time it came, it would make the monsters in front of him feel despair. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. You can't run away. Dozens of miles away from the forbidden area of Black Mountain, dozens of figures were chasing a big man in black, flying high in the sky, like a flock of big birds. Flying ahead, the man in black was being chased by everyone. He was as tall as an ox and had a weird horn on his forehead. But even when he was being chased, he still acted domineeringly. You little brats who don't know the heights of the world, do you think that I can let you bully me because I'm dead today? Do you want to kill me? Then follow me. I want to see what you can do with me today. The burly man in black, whose clothes were almost bursting out of his body, was speeding up his flight while yelling curses at the pursuers behind him. Niu Dingtian, let's capture you without mercy. You used to be a god, but now, your cultivation level is only the same as ours. Where can you escape? One of the pursuers behind him sneered. You can capture without mercy now. You can still have fun, otherwise, when our support arrives, you will definitely die and be buried today. In front of him, the face of the big man in black darkened slightly. He is the Niu Dingtian mentioned by those who are chasing him, a god from the past. But he is just a low-level god, so it is naturally impossible for him to ignore dozens of players of the same level as him like Chen Ronghuo. However, he had no fear in his heart. Looking up, he set his sights on a black mountain in a huge mountain range in the distance. That black mountain was transformed into an ox horn from his past. And where the black mountain is, it is also the place where he left his power inheritance. He left himself a total of 2 power inheritance places, and he had already taken one due to Chen Ronghuo's stimulation. It is precisely because of this that he was able to break through to the current 4th level in a short period of time. There is no limit to the way the gods can obtain the power inheritance they have left for themselves. If there is no Chen Ronghuo, according to the contract, the gods will generally start to find ways to obtain the power inheritance left to them 1 year after the game starts. But the appearance of Chen Ronghuo is equivalent to a variable, allowing the gods to no longer abide by the agreement and obtain their own power inheritance in advance. Whoosh! Thinking of this, Niu Dingtian slightly increased his speed. In the Black Mountain Forbidden Land, he not only left a part of the power inheritance, but also a part of the guardian race he created, the bull-headed human monster. The cultivation level of those bull-headed human monsters is only level 5, but there are 200 or 300 of them. For him in his prime, these bull-headed human monsters are naturally nothing. But for him at this time, these bull-headed human monsters can provide him with great help. Finally, Niu Dingtian came to the edge of the Black Mountain Forbidden Land while galloping. After arriving here, he landed directly, but did not stop, but continued to run deep into the Black Mountain Forbidden Land. He wanted to lead all the players who were chasing him to the depths of the Black Mountain Forbidden Land, and then with a call, he would summon all the hundreds of 5th-level bull-headed monsters he had created, and slaughter all these ignorant players. Let them see what it means that divine power cannot be offended. Although his body is a bull. Although he is only a low-level god. But he is the Earth Bull Demon God, and not everyone can bully him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 618. Niu Dingtian ran fast in the forbidden area of Black Mountain. Behind him, dozens of level 4 players were chasing after him. These are all from the same force, the Dark Alliance. Although the God-slaying alliance's previous attack on Chen Ronghuo ended in failure, many major forces in the Earth-Star universe still did not give up their plans to kill the god. Any players who find out that they might be gods will immediately rush out to kill them. As the top players disappeared one after another on the player level ranking list, Niu Dingtian, who was originally just a low-level god, was exposed. Niu Dingtian was naturally targeted by the players' forces. Of course, it wasn't long after Niu Dingtian was targeted that he found the first power inheritance place he left for himself. After receiving the inheritance, he directly broke through to the 4th level of his cultivation level in one fell swoop. Chen Ronghuo quit the ranking list because his level was too much higher than other players. Because Niu Dingtian received the inheritance he left behind, he also withdrew from the level rankings after making a significant breakthrough in his cultivation. However, although Niu Dingtian only stayed on the level rankings for a short time, he was still targeted by people from the Dark Alliance. Little cubs, keep chasing if you have the guts. While Niu Dingtian ran deep into the forbidden area of Black Mountain, he turned back to stimulate the Dark Alliance players who were chasing him. But he was a little confused. Logically speaking, he had entered the forbidden area of Black Mountain. The bullies he arranged here should have sensed him and took the initiative to pick him up, right? How come he hasn't seen a single calf until now? However, although he was doubtful, he never thought that at this moment, deep in the Black Mountain Forbidden Land, he was holding a giant sword and beheaded the last Minotaur in the entire Black Mountain Forbidden Land on the spot. This Black Mountain Forbidden Land was created after he signed a divine pact with the gods. According to the rules, no NPC in the game dares to have any idea here. As for the players, at this stage, who dares to rush in here and face hundreds of 5th-level bull-headed monsters? Niu Dingtian is full of confidence. What kind of place is this? There is an air restriction. Does Niu Dingtian have nowhere to escape, or did he lure us here on purpose? It doesn't matter where it is, or whether he lured us here on purpose, just chase him. Players from the Dark Alliance are in hot pursuit of Niu Dingtian. Kill the god, this is a death order issued by the major forces on the Earth Star. As long as the gods are discovered, all the major forces will come out in force. If anyone can successfully kill the god, there is no doubt that he will be bestowed with unimaginable benefits afterwards. Almost. Finally, Niu Dingtian felt that he was almost deep into the forbidden area of Black Mountain. He suddenly opened his mouth and let out a long roar, "You guys, come out quickly and greet these kids." His roar was like thunder, making the surrounding trees rustle, and the sound suddenly spread to an unknown distance. After this roar, Niu Dingtian turned around and looked at the group of Dark Alliance players who were still chasing him, and couldn't help but sneer. The game has just begun. Bluff. The players who were chasing Niu Dingtian were all startled when they heard Niu Dingtian shouting. But after they waited for a while, they found that after Niu Dingtian shouted, there was no reaction in the entire deep forest, and they suddenly became furious. What's going on? At the same time, Niu Dingtian was also extremely confused. Where have all my bastards gone? For some reason, he felt a faint throbbing in his heart, as if something bad was about to happen. Moo. He opened his mouth and let out another long roar. But this time, he roared like an ox. The roaring sound came out, carrying strong pressure and spreading in all directions. However, what made Niu Dingtian look extremely ugly was that after he let out this long roar, there was no movement in the entire Black Mountain forbidden area. Not a single Minotaur responded to him. The players chasing after Niu Dingtian all smiled strangely. They did not expect that Niu Dingtian, the former god, could actually bluff. At the same time, this also gave them more confidence. Thinking that Niu Dingtian has reached the point of despair. God of slaughter. An idea emerges in the minds of all players. These words have infinite temptation. If possible, everyone will try their best to achieve this incredible achievement. This is. Deep in the forbidden area of Haishan, Chen Ronghuo couldn't help but be startled when he heard Niu Dingtian's roar and the previous greeting from Niu Dingtian. He picked up the Chaos Armor Sword from the pool of blood, turned his head, and looked in the direction of Niu Dingtian. At the same time, he began to use the power of ancient books to deduce who the visitor was. However, Niu Dingtian is the former Earth Bull Demon God. After his reincarnation, he is protected by the power of rules. With Chen Ronghuo's current state, it is difficult to use ancient books to deduce the reincarnation of a god. Of course, even if he couldn't deduce it, Chen Ronghuo thought about it and made some guesses about the person coming. It's interesting. I didn't expect that I would get something unexpected when I came here this time. A smile appeared on Chen Ronghuo's lips. He lifted his steps and walked straight in the direction of the distant sound without any hesitation. After a great battle, he had killed all the Minotaurs in the entire Black Mountain forbidden area here. Killing so many demonized lives of the same level at once, even Chen Ronghuo felt a little tired. However, after taking a few pills, he recovered his spirits in a short while. What happened? Where did all my calves go? Will there be any problems with the inheritance I left behind? Niu Dingtian ran madly into the depths of the Black Mountain forbidden land with a gloomy face, and prayed in his heart that there would be no problems with the inheritance he left behind. Otherwise, he would probably find it difficult to reach the realm of his previous life in this life. The game of gods will not be open forever. The game he developed with other gods was based on two identical treasures that they accidentally discovered in the world of gods and the world of Black Magic Star. But even those two treasures may have their limits. Once the energy of the two treasures is exhausted, or the three worlds of the world of gods, the world of Black Magic Star, and the universe where the Earth Star is located merge into one, the game of gods will be closed. Therefore, if he wanted to return to the realm of his previous life, he had to do it before the end of the game. Otherwise, when the game was over, without the help of experience points, it would definitely not be so easy for him to return to the peak. Swish. Just when Niu Dingtian was thinking this, his eyes suddenly focused and he saw a figure in the distance, like lightning, approaching from afar, and suddenly stopped when he was close to him. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 619. Brush. Chen Ronghuo raised his sword and landed in front of Niu Dingtian. When it hit the ground, there was no sound. Tianfeng's sword, Su Shang? Niu Dingtian looked at Chen Ronghuo's face. After being slightly startled, his pupils suddenly shrank. The video of major forces going to Tianfeng Valley to capture Chen Ronghuo, but ended up being killed by tens of thousands of people by Chen Ronghuo's formation has been widely circulated on player forums. Niu Dingtian also saw the video on the forum. In the video, Chen Ronghuo's powerful display of strength has definitely reached the 6th level. And it's not as simple as the early stage of the 6th level. So when he saw Chen Ronghuo, his eyebrows immediately tightened. In particular, this is the place of inheritance he left behind. NPCs are bound by rules and should not be able to enter here. How did Chen Ronghuo get in? Also, the Minotaur he placed here has not appeared yet. Is it Chen Ronghuo's fault? Su Shang? At the same time, dozens of players from the Dark Alliance who were chasing behind them all showed solemn expressions when they saw Chen Ronghuo's appearance, and they all clenched their weapons as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Not long ago, there were people from the Dark Alliance participating in the battle in Tianfeng Valley. They all knew very well the strength of Chen Ronghuo in front of them. Although there seemed to be no formations arranged in advance, they still did not dare to look down upon Chen Ronghuo. Niu Dingtian, Level 43. Identity 1, Taurus Player. Identity 2, Former Low-Level God, Earth Bull Demon God. When everyone's eyes fell on Chen Ronghuo also identified Niu Cai Dingtian's attributes. When he saw that Niu Dingtian was indeed a former god, a smile immediately appeared on Chen Ronghuo's face. As for the dozens of Dark Alliance players who were chasing Niu Dingtian, he just glanced at them and didn't take them to heart. He had already killed hundreds of 5th-level bull-headed monsters in the mountains before. Naturally, he would not care about the dozens of 4th-level cultivators in front of him. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Niu Dingtian, who was burly and almost bursting with clothes, suddenly burst into laughter. He half turned his body, looked at the dozens of people who were chasing him, and shouted, "What? I stopped, why don't you do anything?" The players of the Dark Alliance looked ugly for a while. They wanted to take action, but after looking at Chen Ronghuo, they did not dare to take action directly in front of Chen Ronghuo. Senior. A player bowed and saluted Chen Ronghuo, "We are here just to hunt down this person. We have no intention of becoming your enemy." "I don't know." Chen Ronghuo raised his head, and a ray of coldness swept through his eyes, like 10,000 years of black ice, penetrating into the bone marrow, causing the player to gag on the rest of his words. Even Niu Dingtian, who was laughing just now, his expression froze slightly. "Haha, you are bold and have excellent qualifications. It suits my taste." But immediately after, Niu Dingtian smiled again and looked at Chen Ronghuo as if he was sizing up a rare treasure. "Boy, I am the reincarnation of the Earth Bull Demon God. I think you are good, I will give you a chance. As long as you pass my test and kill them all here, I can teach you the supreme method and let you gain the power to reach heaven and earth. What do you think?" There was a look of confidence on his face, as if he was not afraid that Chen Ronghuo would not accept his test. Chen Ronghuo did not answer Niu Dingtian's words, but moved his hand and raised the giant sword in his hand. The smooth sword surface reflected grey divine light. Niu Dingtian's pupils shrank and he cursed secretly for his bad luck. Although his expression did not change, he became cautious. In order to be able to level up as quickly as possible, it was his true body that entered the game. Once he dies here this time, he will truly die. At the same time, the players of the Dark Alliance also raised their hearts. The evil reputation of Tianfeng's sword Su Shang is now at its peak, so they have to be careful. Brush. Suddenly, Chen Rong became angry. He rushed forward, covering a distance of tens of meters in one step. After a few steps, he crossed Niu Dingtian and rushed in front of dozens of players from the Dark Alliance. He raised his sword and slashed it down. Even with the restrictions of the Black Mountain Forbidden Area, when he exploded with all his strength, this sword cut out a sword light that was more than 10 meters long. The icy sword light was like a cold wind that penetrated the bone marrow. As they faced the oncoming attack, all the Dark Alliance players felt their hearts sink in an instant. But their eyes couldn't help but move with the sword light struck by Chen Ronghuo. It seemed that Chen Ronghuo's sword light contained infinite mysteries, attracting them. If they could understand it, they would be able to ascend to the immortal God's palace. The environment is average. Not good. A player led by the Dark Alliance felt something was wrong, bit the tip of his tongue, blood spilled out, and he reacted. But when he reacted, Chen Ronghuo's sword light was already only 1 meter away from him. Boom! This player exploded with all his strength, releasing his rolling power and laying down layers of spiritual energy shields in front of him. And as time passed, the number of spiritual energy shields that appeared in front of him increased. In the blink of an eye, it went from the first floor to the 7th or 8th floor, and it had no intention of stopping. Puff! However, as Chen Ronghuo's sword fell, the layers of protective shields he put in front of him became like thin pieces of white paper. With one strike of the sword, the layers were shattered and turned into countless spiritual lights, dissipating in front of him. Then Chen Ronghuo's sharp sword slashed across his body with a pop, splitting him in half. Puff puff puff. After the leading player, none of the other players could resist Chen Ronghuo's terrifying sword light. The sword light passed by, and most of the dozens of Dark Alliance players were killed by Chen Ronghuo. Then he didn't pause at all. When he retracted the giant sword, he slashed out with another sword with his backhand. Brush. This sword came out without any surprise, and all the remaining Dark Alliance players were slashed out. They were all bleeding, but in an instant, they all turned into auras, dissipated, and exited the game. Behind Chen Ronghuo, Niu Dingtian twitched as he looked at the dozens of players who were chasing him to the sky and nowhere, but were all killed by Chen Ronghuo so easily. Ha ha, ha ha ha, I really did not misjudge the person. Your qualifications are indeed excellent. Even when I was in your realm, I was probably only a little better than you. If you can obtain the supreme method I taught you, I will definitely be able to soar into the sky and achieve the state of a god like I was before. Niu Dingtian raised his head and looked at Chen Ronghuo, who turned around with an expression of great appreciation, his face filled with great confidence. Earth Bull Demon God, looking at Niu Dingtian, Chen Ronghuo showed a strange smile and asked, "Do you have any supreme method, the kind of method that forced me to self-destruct my divine body in the past?" Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 620. Bang. 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 Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Niu Dingtian suddenly took 3 steps back. His face, which had originally shown an awkward smile, was now full of disbelief. He looked at Chen Ronghuo, as if he wanted to see into Chen Ronghuo's bones. "Who are you?" Niu Dingtian spoke in a deep voice, staring closely at Chen Ronghuo's eyes. "Who am I? Haven't you guessed it?" Chen Ronghuo took 3 steps forward and got closer to Niu Dingtian. "Chen Ronghuo," Niu Dingtian's eyes met with Chen Ronghuo's, and a hint of horror flashed across his face, but he still didn't want to believe it and said, "You are Chen Ronghuo? This is impossible. How could you be him? Chen Ronghuo has clearly been sealed by us under the demon suppression abyss." Although he said so, Niu Dingtian didn't know why, but he always felt that what Chen Ronghuo said was the truth. This made his heart extremely heavy, as if a mountain was pressing down on him. "So, you should be afraid." Chen Ronghuo continued to move forward, approaching Niu Dingtian step by step. How dare you suppress my clone under the demon suppression abyss? How do you think I should deal with you? Clone? The one under the demon suppression abyss is just one of your clones. Niu Dingtian kept retreating backwards. At the same time, his mind involuntarily emerged the scene of Chen Ronghuo breaking the sky with one hand and breaking the peerless divine formation set up by thousands of gods in the past battle. If it weren't for them taking the initiative to destroy the divine body, strengthen the formation, and seal Chen Ronghuo, the consequences would be unimaginable. Niu Dingtian looked at Chen Ronghuo with fear. He couldn't help but be afraid. Only then did he understand why Chen Ronghuo's realm seemed to be only the 5th level, and he should not have broken through to the 6th level, so how could he have such strength? He could kill tens of thousands of players, he could kill 6th rank warriors, he could single-handedly wipe out the hundreds of bull-headed monsters he left in the Black Mountain Forbidden Land, and he could kill dozens of Dark Alliance players on the spot with just 2 swords. Chen Ronghuo. This ordinary, even somewhat difficult name explained all the impossible things as soon as it appeared. Why, don't you want to run away? Chen Ronghuo looked at Niu Dingtian, who was constantly retreating, and sneered, do you think you can escape from me? Niu Dingtian was silent. Before, dozens of players of the same level as him could chase him to the point where there was no way to go up to the sky or down to the ground. Facing Chen Ronghuo, who had a higher cultivation level than him and could kill all the players chasing him with 2 swords, what could he use to escape? Even if the person in front of him was lying to him. Even if the person in front of him was not Chen Ronghuo at all, he was afraid that he would also be buried here today. At this time, his heart had sunk to the bottom of the valley. What do you want? To let me go? Niu Dingtian spoke hoarsely. Let you go? Chen Ronghuo smiled, that's impossible, but I can spare you. I master a secret technique called the 33 days soul calming technique. You should know what kind of secret technique it is by listening to the name, right? This secret technique was practiced by Chen Ronghuo before. Using this secret technique, one can divide 33 souls to control his subordinates. Wu Piaoan, Mu Daoran, and others under Chen Ronghuo were controlled by him using this secret technique. Although Chen Ronghuo is not the same as before, he has practiced the soul law again and is a rare soul sorcerer, so he can still use this secret technique. Niu Dingtian is only a 4th level practitioner now. Even if Niu Dingtian in his previous life was only a low-level god, it would be easy for Chen Ronghuo to control Niu Dingtian at his current level. Of course, the reason why Chen Ronghuo wanted to keep Niu Dingtian instead of killing him directly was that Niu Dingtian was too weak and there was no benefit in killing him. It was better to take him as a subordinate and use him to seek greater benefits. For example, let Niu Dingtian appear as the reincarnation of a god to attract players from various forces to kill him, and then he would hide in the dark and kill the players at the critical moment to gain experience points. In addition, he could also try to get more information from the gods from Niu Dingtian. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo sighed silently. His 2 vests, kneeling gods and Su Shang of Tianfeng's sword, even if they showed up now, I am afraid that the major forces such as the Dark Alliance would not act rashly. This also forced him to find another way. Niu Dingtian showed an extremely bitter look. He never thought that he would be so unlucky that he would meet Chen Ronghuo, the great demon that all gods fear, in the forbidden land of inheritance he left behind. He didn't even see the faces of the hundreds of bull-headed monsters that he relied on, and they were all slaughtered by Chen Ronghuo. As a result, he had no choice at all. Come on. Niu Dingtian tore off his blood-stained shirt fiercely, revealing his extremely burly body, and closed his eyes at the same time. With Chen Ronghuo's identity, he surrendered to him, which was not an insult to him. Although he was unwilling in his heart, he had to bow his head unless he wanted to bang his head and bleed. Chen Ronghuo's thought moved, and the soul in the center of the soul sea shook slightly, and a ray of black light that seemed real and unreal was separated. Black light shot out from his forehead, and with a whoosh, it flew into the soul sea of Niu Dingtian in the distance. Niu Dingtian was reincarnated, and his original soul was weakened to the limit, leaving only a wisp of true spirit. With his own cooperation, Chen Ronghuo was able to perform the 33 days soul calming technique on him without much hindrance. After a moment, Niu Dingtian opened his eyes with a complicated look. "My lord." He bowed to Chen Ronghuo. "Don't call me lord, just call me sir in the future." Chen Ronghuo shook his head. "Yes, sir." Niu Dingtian nodded. "You came here to obtain the inheritance you left behind, right?" Chen Ronghuo looked at Niu Dingtian and said with a smile, "This is your fortune, I won't fight with you for it, go and get it now. After it's over, tell me about your northern gods." The gods are not monolithic, but also divided into groups and organizations. The Northern Gods, also known as the Northern Gods Alliance, is an organization among the gods. Chen Ronghuo remembered that the Lord Scroll he got at the beginning came from Mo-Kian, the sleepless god among the Northern Gods. And the Earth Bull demon god Niu Dingtian is also a member of the Northern Gods Alliance. Chen Ronghuo wanted to know more about the gods through Niu Dingtian, especially to ask Niu Dingtian if he had any contact information for other gods. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 621. Su Shang. After the death of the Dark Alliance player, he immediately reported that he and his team were chasing Niu Dingtian, but encountered Su Shang, the Skywind Sword, in the Black Mountain Forbidden Land and were killed by Su Shang's two swords. The Dark Alliance leaders who received the news were so angry that they trembled all over. Generally speaking, NPCs rarely take the initiative to attack players. They couldn't figure out what was going on with the Su Shang. In the Skywind Valley, they took the initiative to attack the Skywind Valley and planned to attack Su Shang, so being attacked by Su Shang was fine. This time in the Black Mountain Forbidden Land, they should have no conflict with Su Shang at all. Is it really the same as what the servant reported, that Su Shang believed Niu Dingtian's words and wanted to obtain the supreme method of becoming a god from him? The Dark Alliance leaders were puzzled. If the login crystal that could allow them to enter the game had not appeared yet, they would have logged into the game directly and went to find Su Shang in the game. Arrange people to pay attention to the movement of the Black Mountain Forbidden Land. Once Su Shang is found coming out of the Black Mountain Forbidden Land, immediately send people into the Black Mountain Forbidden Land to see what is going on inside. Knowing that it is difficult for their men to deal with Su Shang at this stage, the high-level officials of the Dark Alliance had no choice but to issue this order. They speculated that the Black Mountain Forbidden Land is likely to be a place where gods are passed down. Or, it is the place where Niu Dingtian left them. But Su Shang is there, and if they enter now, they will only die. Boom. Chen Ronghuo stood at the foot of the Black Mountain in the Black Mountain Forbidden Land, and saw that the originally huge Black Mountain was slowly shrinking in the vibration. It turned into a sharp bullhorn and fell on Niu Dingtian's forehead. It merged with the horn that was originally on his forehead. After the two merged, Chen Ronghuo looked over and saw that the horn on Niu Dingtian's forehead had more mysterious runes. With his knowledge, he could recognize that those runes could be linked together to stimulate the power of the earth, gravity, defense, and other attributes. My lord. After receiving the inheritance, Niu Dingtian flashed and landed in front of Chen Ronghuo. Not bad. Chen Ronghuo looked at Niu Dingtian and nodded. Niu Dingtian, who had received the inheritance, had reached level 49 and was not far from breaking through to level 5. And Chen Ronghuo knew that the inheritance Niu Dingtian received this time was mainly the horn between his eyebrows, and the improvement of Niu Dingtian's level was just a byproduct. That horn should have been made by Niu Dingtian as his life secret treasure. For any cultivator, a life secret treasure can greatly increase his strength. Just like Chen Ronghuo's own Chaos Armor Sword. Before Chen Ronghuo rebuilt, the reason why he didn't build his own secret treasure was that he didn't have much time. He couldn't be a part-time swordsman like he is now, and he could use experience points to strengthen the Chaos Armor Sword while upgrading. Second, he had several powerful secret treasures at that time, so he didn't think about getting a special secret treasure for himself. This time, Chen Ronghuo had the opportunity to start over, and he would naturally not let it go. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo shot out a beam of light, lifted Niu Dingtian, and flew directly into the sky and flew far away. At the same time, he said lightly, "Tell me about your Northern Gods Alliance." After Niu Dingtian received the inheritance, all the restrictions in this Black Mountain Forbidden Land had disappeared. Chen Ronghuo could naturally fly here. Niu Dingtian stepped on the mysterious light shot by Chen Ronghuo and was lifted by Chen Ronghuo to fly in the air. After just accepting the inheritance, his heart, which was still a little fluctuating, immediately condensed. After a moment of silence, he began to introduce to Chen Ronghuo, "You should know, sir, that our Northern Gods Alliance, also known as the God of War Alliance, is a Gods Alliance headed by the God of War. There are more than 300 gods in our Northern Gods Alliance, which is one of the largest among all the Gods Alliances. Under the God of War, our Northern Gods Alliance also has 3 peak gods, the Heavenly Bow True God, the Nine-Headed True God, and the True Body of Roaring Sky. Before the Gods game started, we signed a contract and made some changes to the game. So after the game started, we set up a game chat group under the leadership of the God of War so that we can contact each other." After hearing Niu Dingtian's answer, Chen Ronghuo's heart moved slightly. He had long known that the gods were not a monolithic entity. Thousands of gods were divided into 20 to 30 alliances of various sizes. Among the many alliances, the 3 largest alliances were the Thunder Gods Alliance headed by the Lord of Thunder, the Underworld Gods Alliance headed by the Lord of Ancient Darkness, and the Light Gods Alliance headed by the Lord of Light. Under these 3 major alliances, there are also the Golden Alliance, the Northern Alliance of Gods, the Southern Alliance of Gods and other alliances of lower order. After that, there are some smaller alliances. Chen Ronghuo had a great advantage at the beginning of the game. But he was only one person after all. This game was created by the gods together, and now stimulated by him, one by one, the gods began to explode. Not to mention anything else, just a small god like Niu Dingtian, who was once just a low-level god, was able to reach the 4th level in a short time after obtaining the inheritance left by himself, and was about to break through the 5th level. It can be imagined that those gods who are far more powerful than Niu Dingtian will have a great improvement after obtaining the many inheritances left by them. In particular, when all the gods of a divine alliance are inherited, the power they can exert when they come together will undoubtedly be even more terrifying. At that time, I am afraid that thousands of players of the same level as Earth and Star gathered together may not be the opponents of hundreds of players with reincarnated gods. It is precisely because of this that even Chen Ronghuo has to pay attention to the movements of those gods. That's why he conquered Niu Dingtian. Now that his strength is too low, it is difficult to deduce too many things using ancient books. Niu Dingtian is his nail in breaking into the Northern Gods Alliance. What's going on? After receiving orders from the top of the Dark Alliance, the Dark Alliance players who were guarding outside the Black Mountain Forbidden Area were confused when they looked at the empty area deep inside the Black Mountain Forbidden Area after Chen Ronghuo and Niu Dingtian left. I don't know how such a huge black mountain that penetrates into the sky is gone. The leading player did not dare to neglect and hurriedly reported the news. At this time, Chen Ronghuo and Niu Dingtian had already moved away from here at extremely fast speeds. "Old Niu, how are you?" In the God of War Alliance chat group, Qi Yang Vulcan asked Niu Dingtian. After Niu Dingtian was discovered by the players of the Dark Alliance and started to hunt him down, He immediately uploaded the news to the God of War Alliance chat group. I hope someone nearby can help him. Unfortunately, I don't know if there was no one around him at the time, or no one was willing to take action. After he sent the message, a group of players who were reincarnated gods expressed concern for him, but no one said they had the ability to save him. I entered the land of inheritance and got the inheritance from my previous life. I'm fine now. Niu Dingtian entered the God of War Alliance chat group and replied with a message. It's okay. Also, have you got your inheritance? Seeing Niu Dingtian's reply, Xiang Fire God asked, recently, the nine-headed true god wants to organize an event. Do you want to participate? What activity? Niu Dingtian asked curiously. This is the first time someone in the group has organized an event since their reincarnation. In particular, the one who organized the event was the nine-headed true god. The nine-headed true god is one of the three pinnacle gods of the Northern Gods Alliance. He is extremely powerful and is also the deputy leader of the Northern Gods Alliance. Did you see the video of the battle in Tianfeng Valley on the player forum? Xiang Fire God did not answer, but asked instead. I saw it. Niu Dingtian replied. But in his heart, he was a little confused as to why the Red Yang Fire God mentioned Chen Ronghuo. He turned his head and glanced at Chen Ronghuo beside him, and casually told Chen Ronghuo what happened in the chat group. The NPC in Tianfeng Valley named Su Shang, I don't know where he came from, but he does have some ability in the formation. But he can use his own strength to set up formations and kill tens of thousands of players, why can't we? Xiang Fire God naturally didn't know that the Niu Dingtian now was no longer the Niu Dingtian before. He said in a sonorous tone. Those player ants want to hunt us down before we recover to our peak, so we can't remain unresponsive. Lord Nine-Headed True God is also proficient in formations, and he is definitely better than Su Shang. This time, we plan to have the Nine-Headed True God set up the formation, and then we will assist, giving those players a powerful performance, and also earning some experience points. Niu Dingtian was shocked when he heard this. This event was led by the nine-headed true god and assisted by other gods, so there was definitely a lot of movement. He took a deep breath, turned around and informed Chen Ronghuo of the matter. Oh! Hearing Niu Dingtian's statement, Chen Ronghuo was startled. He did not expect that he would have such a harvest just after accepting Niu Dingtian. He pondered for a moment and then said to Niu Dingtian, answer them, you have participated in this operation. Yes. Niu Dingtian nodded. Then he logged into the God of War Alliance chat group again and said, no problem, I just happen to be fine now, so I participated in this operation. You tell us when we will take action and what we need to do then. After receiving Niu Dingtian's message, Xiang Fire God said, we are now in the Taishu Empire. Come here immediately. We will tell you when to act and what needs to be done when you come over. Good. Niu Dingtian replied, then he turned to Chen Ronghuo and said, Sir, I have already agreed, but they want me to rush to the Taishu Empire now, do you think? The Taishu Empire. Chen Ronghuo pondered for a moment and said, okay, let's go there right away. When we get there, you can find a way to lure the nine-headed true god out alone. An idea came into his mind. That is, just like playing Su Shang, kill the nine-headed true god, play the nine-headed true god, take over the formation set up by the nine-headed true god, and then use other gods to massacre players from all major forces and plunder experience points. Yes. Niu Dingtian was startled. Although he found it a little difficult, he had to agree. Then, after Chen Ronghuo and Niu Dingtian discussed their strategy, the two flew all the way towards the Taishu Empire. This forbidden land in Black Mountain was originally close to the border of Taishu Empire, so it didn't take much time for the two of them to rush to Taishu Empire. The world of the gods, I haven't been back for many years. This time, I'm afraid I will have to stay here for a long time to recover from my injuries. A deep sigh sounded from the chaos, followed by a vague shadow, which shuttled through the layers of chaotic clouds at an incredible speed and came to the outside of the world of the gods. This, how is this possible? Just when this person took a look, it was as if he was looking at the figure at the beginning of everything. When he came to the outside of the world of the gods, he saw a purple, a black, and a nine-color world, with borders mixed together, and seemed to be merging into one. A pair of eyes that had been trained to be calm suddenly showed an incredible look. The fusion of the world, how incredible it is! Not to mention the fusion of three worlds together. The eyes of this figure were extremely bright and unpredictable, as if they could penetrate the sky and the earth. He stared at the three worlds in front of him, which were merging, as if he had already set his eyes on the core of these three worlds. Slowly, in his eyes, three crystals that were as clear as the beginning of everything and the end of everything were faintly reflected. These three crystals are the core of the world of gods, the world of the black magic star, and the universe where the Earth star is located. I didn't expect it, I didn't expect there would be such treasures in the world of gods. After a moment, this figure, who was seriously injured but had an extremely terrifying aura, trembled slightly. These trash are quite capable. They actually used these three treasures as the core to create such a scene. But in this case, I am afraid that I can't return to the world of gods for the time being. The mysterious figure in the void muttered to himself. However, although I can't return to the world of gods for the time being, I can use the world power overflowing from the fusion of the three worlds to temper my body and recover from my injuries. When I recover from my injuries, these three treasures will all be mine. Boom! Suddenly, this figure flashed in the void and plunged into the center of the fusion of the three worlds. Boom! When this figure fell into the center of the fusion of the three worlds, the formation that was originally set up by the gods together immediately shook violently. The shaking of the formation immediately affected the three worlds, causing countless void cracks to appear in the three worlds at once. The world of the gods, the place where demons are sealed, the demon suppression abyss. This is. Just as the mysterious shadow plunged into the fusion center of the three worlds, Chen Ronghuo's substitute stone embryo under the demon suppression abyss suddenly raised his head. His eyes, like two suns, were extremely bright under the dark demon suppression abyss. For some reason, at this moment, he actually felt that the peerless formation that suppressed him under the demon suppression abyss seemed to have been drained of some power by something. It became much weaker. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 622. Sensing the weakening of the seal, Chen Ronghuo released all his strength without any hesitation. Boom! In an instant, his body seemed to be a volcano that had been dormant for 1,000 years. Once it erupted, it was majestic and violent. Under the powerful explosion, the divine array inlaid with countless mysterious runes was induced and immediately appeared above Chen Ronghuo's head, like a mountain of black ice, cold and ruthless, trying to suppress him again. Chen Ronghuo raised his head, and a trace of disdain appeared on his angular face. He suddenly raised his fist and smashed it upward. When this punch was thrown, Chen Ronghuo's body suddenly began to grow rapidly. In a short time, he became a huge giant who stepped on the world and broke the sky with one hand. On his raised arm, blue veins emerged, as if huge mountains were winding on it. His heart vibrated violently, and one by one, like beating a drum, it sent a magnificent force to his body. Boom! Finally, Chen Ronghuo's fist, burning with black and red flames, hit the huge divine formation above his head fiercely. In an instant, the two infinite forces intertwined and merged together, reacting violently, shaking the countless runes on the formation, and the spiritual light flashed, just like the current in the circuit suddenly surged, vaguely seeming to destroy the entire circuit. However, this divine formation was jointly set up by the gods, and existed specifically to seal Chen Ronghuo. Even if the power was weakened, it still supported and persisted under Chen Ronghuo's punch. Seeing this scene, Chen Ronghuo's face became colder, without any hesitation, and then the second punch was blasted out, and then the third punch, the fourth punch. The peerless formation shook violently. Hualala! Suddenly, a series of divine lights surged from the divine formation, as if stimulated by Chen Ronghuo, and evolved into a series of divine chains, binding him. Chen Ronghuo's body shook, and countless brilliance rushed out from his pores, blocking those chains. However, those divine chains spun and dodged like spirit snakes in the middle of the journey, avoiding Chen Ronghuo's interception from incredible places and continuing to bind him. The coldness in Chen Ronghuo's eyes reached the extreme, and he finally stopped paying attention to those chains, but focused all his mind on his fists. Demon transformation, demon flame, demon soul, demon power, all kinds of secret techniques flowed in his mind, and he put them into practice in an instant. In a short period of time, he punched continuously, making the space where he was in a dark and chaotic, as if he wanted to completely blow up this peerless divine formation. When he fell into a violent state, the peerless formation seemed to sense the crisis, and the divine chains sent out suddenly bound him at a faster speed, like a dragon, with infinite divine power. Buzz buzz buzz. The chains hummed, carrying infinite sealing power, and fell on Chen Ronghuo. Suddenly, half of Chen Ronghuo's power was sealed. With his current power, he obviously could not cause any damage to the peerless divine formation above. However, Chen Ronghuo raised his head and looked at the gradually receding divine formation. He saw that the aura of some runes on it had completely faded under his continuous punches, and it seemed that it could no longer function. It's okay. Chen Ronghuo smiled. This time, the sudden change of heaven and earth was a good thing for him. Although his substitute stone embryo that carried all his power failed to break the seal, his attack weakened the power of the peerless formation that sealed him, and a flaw appeared. The appearance of this flaw increased the connection between his original body and his sealed substitute stone embryo several times. Outside, Chen Ronghuo focused his consciousness on his attribute panel. He saw that the introduction of his previous special ability inviting God had changed. Originally, he could transfer power from his substitute stone embryo by performing the secret art of summoning gods to enhance his strength. However, these transferred powers can only exist in him for 1 hour at most. After 1 hour, the remaining power will return to the world of gods instead of returning to the substitute stone embryo. At the same time, he summoned not only power but also the power of law. The power of law summoned will also disappear when the time limit is reached. In other words, this kind of summoned power will damage his cultivation. So he has never performed this secret art. And now? Chen Ronghuo stared at the attribute panel, his mind moved slightly. Now he can still summon gods as before and gain extremely strong power, but he will still lose his cultivation afterwards. But in addition to this, he can also summon the same power and the same power of law from his substitute stone embryo as his current realm. This kind of equal power and power of law summoned can always stay in his body. Even if it is used up, it can be restored and will not be the same as before. Chen Ronghuo carefully experienced the changes of this secret technique, thought about it, and suddenly used this secret technique to transfer part of the power and law power from his substitute stone fetus to his original body. Curse law, calamity law, blood law, immortal law, contract law, disaster law. Suddenly, the law power that he had recultivated this time and did not cultivate began to return to his body and turned into the foundation of his original body. And the levels of the various law powers he transferred are exactly the same as his current level. So, as long as my cultivation is sufficient, I don't need to break the power in the substitute stone fetus, I can get all the previous power back. Chen Ronghuo showed a smile on his face. Taking back the 5th level power before the reconstruction has further enhanced his current strength. It is estimated that many 6th level practitioners are no longer his opponents. And when he upgrades in the future, he only needs to continue to improve the 4 main professions of Chaos Warlock, Sword Warlock, Soul Warlock, and Divine Power Warrior, as well as the 4 secondary professions of Alchemy, Refining, Talisman, and Array. There is no need to use experience points to strengthen his other professions. The improvement of his other professions such as Curse Master and Robbery Mage only needs to be transferred from the substitute Stone Fetus every time he upgrades. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo suddenly became more confident in his next move. Crack, crack, crack. Suddenly, Chen Ronghuo's mind moved, and he looked up into the distance, only to see a void crack suddenly appear in the distant sky. However, the crack appeared quickly and disappeared quickly, and soon disappeared. What happened just now? Chen Ronghuo was puzzled, and at the same time, he felt more urgent in his heart. He didn't know what it was that actually weakened the power of the formation that sealed him so much, and even caused void cracks to appear out of thin air in the void. But it is conceivable that the thing must be extremely terrifying. At the same time, countless void cracks appeared in the world of gods, the Earth Star universe, and the world of the Black Magic Star. Looking at these cracks, the gods of the past and all the powerful people who exist now all changed their colors. I don't know what happened in their world, what happened, and such a change happened. Swoosh. Putting aside many thoughts in his mind, Chen Ronghuo and Niu Dingtian encountered a green plain during the flight. On the grassland, there lived a large group of grey wolves. Swish. Chen Ronghuo looked at a group of grey wolves running on the plain, raised his sword and slashed it down. The light sword light, like a ray of starlight, was extremely sharp, and instantly killed 7 or 8 grey wolves on the spot. Roar, roar, roar. The wolves were stimulated, raised their heads and roared to the sky. These grey wolves were just a group of second-level demonized life forms, and they couldn't even fly. But in the roar, they condensed into a huge one-eyed white wolf phantom that stared at Chen Ronghuo with cruel eyes. Chen Ronghuo's consciousness was immersed, and it merged with the Chaos Armor Sword in his hand, as if it had merged into the core of the Chaos Armor Sword. In an instant, the man and the sword became one. Whoosh! The Chaos Armor Sword changed from large to small, and turned into a flying sword. It flashed in the void at a very fast speed, like lightning, and arrived in front of the one-eyed white wolf in the blink of an eye. Without any pause, it was like a sharp blade, sweeping through flesh and blood. With a puff, the Chaos Flying Sword pierced through the one-eyed white wolf. Suddenly, the cruelty in the eyes of the one-eyed white wolf's phantom turned into chaos again, and became confused. Following its figure, it also turned into countless spiritual lights in a short while and dissipated in the air. After the one-eyed white wolf's phantom disappeared, the group of wolves on the green grassland suddenly became weak, and some even couldn't even stand because of too much consumption. Don't overestimate your own abilities. Chen Ronghuo snorted coldly, and the sword light jumped and ran below, flashing continuously. After a moment, hundreds of grey wolves below were all slaughtered. After doing all this, Chen Ronghuo glanced at the attribute panel, but was a little disappointed. With his realm, although he could get experience points by slaughtering these second-level grey wolves, the experience points he got under the suppression were pitifully few. But what made Chen Ronghuo even more disappointed was that although his original body could now use the power of the Law of Calamity, the breath of the Law of Calamity he obtained from killing these grey wolves was still transferred to his substitute stone fetus along with the power of the Law in the dark. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. He knew that all this was probably because the source of his Law of Calamity was still in his substitute stone fetus and could not be transferred to his original body. Of course, no matter what, the harvest he got this time was big enough. On the side, Niu Dingtian looked at Chen Ronghuo in confusion. I don't know why Chen Ronghuo killed these low-level demonized lives. Chen Ronghuo did not explain. He took Niu Dingtian and crossed the void at a speed equivalent to that of a 6th level cultivator flying in the air. It took more than 2 hours to arrive at the border of the Taishu Empire. Is this Tianfeng Valley? Not long after Chen Ronghuo left the chaotic land and arrived at the Taishu Empire, 2 uninvited guests suddenly came to the outside of his Tianfeng Valley. A figure, a young man, looked handsome and evil, especially his eyes, which changed color from time to time under the reflection of the sun, giving people a sense of chaos but harmony. Behind this young man, followed an old man wearing a cloak and hunched over. These 2 people were the former god of chaos, Luan Tianxia, and his servant Luan Qinkaiu. Luan Qinkaiu followed behind Luan Tianxia without saying a word. I just heard Luan Tianxia muttering to himself, I watched the video on the player forum. This Su Shang's cultivation is not high, but his talent should be good. He is the best in the same realm. It is suitable for me to plant the seeds of chaos in him. While speaking, he walked directly to Tianfeng Valley without any pause. Behind him was Luan Qinkaiu, a powerful 9th level cultivator. As long as there were no large numbers of players surrounding him, he could almost walk sideways in the land of chaos. So even if there was the example of Chen Rong killing tens of thousands of players with the fire array before, he was not worried at all. In his opinion, Su Shang was just an NPC. Luan Qinkaiu could not attack players without reason, but there was no problem in attacking NPCs. No matter how powerful Su Shang was, could he still defeat Luan Qinkaiu? He only watched the video of Chen Rong killing tens of thousands of players with the fire array on the player forum, and did not see the scene where Huang Taizhong took action and instantly snatched away a 7th level cultivator. Who dares to break into my Tianfeng Valley? As Luan Tianxia walked into Tianfeng Valley, the remaining bandits in Tianfeng Valley immediately came out and looked at Luan Tianxia and Luan Qinkaiu arrogantly. After Chen Ronghuo killed tens of thousands of players and Huang Taizhong captured Du Jiren, the great elder of Xilii sect, the remaining bandits in Tianfeng Valley all swelled up. With Chen Ronghuo here, who are they afraid of in the land of chaos? Luan Tianxia's eyes swept over the dozens of people in the valley, and his brows frowned slightly. In his eyes, these dozens of people were all garbage. He said coldly, "Call your valley master out, I want to see him." "You want our valley master to come out to see you? Who are you?" Since they are bandits, they are naturally a group of people who are used to being arrogant. Hearing Luan Tianxia's arrogant tone, a group of people immediately stopped and cursed at Luan Tianxia. Ah! Suddenly, as soon as a bandit cursed, he felt that Luan Tianxia's eyes looked at him coldly. The color in the eyes fell on him like a curse. Then he felt his body itchy, and he stretched out his hands and scratched his body. With this grab, he immediately grabbed a piece of bright red skin covered with red spots from his body. Such a horrifying scene immediately made him scream in fear. Others also retreated. They looked at Luan Tianxia as if they were looking at a devil. Boom! At this moment, Luan Tianxia moved his body, and suddenly broke free from his handsome skin. A terrifying monster with 2 sharp horns on his head, a naked upper body, and a spine with spikes up to the sky, and countless scales of different sizes all over his body. He rushed forward, and immediately like a tiger into a flock of sheep, he slaughtered all the remaining bandits in Tianfeng Valley in a short time. Isn't Su Shang here? After doing this, Luan Tianxia turned to Luan Qinkaiu and asked. Luan Qinkaiu bowed and said, "My lord, there is no other life here." Luan Tianxia frowned, somewhat unwillingly. But his time was precious, and he didn't have time to waste here. Chen Ronghuo didn't know what happened in Tianfeng Valley. If it was his relatives who were targeted, the ancient book would definitely warn him. But he didn't even regard those bandits in Tianfeng Valley as his real subordinates, and they died. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 623. After arriving at the border of the Taishu Empire, Niu Dingtian's expression changed, and he suddenly said to Chen Ronghuo, "My lord, the nine-headed true god summoned us to gather at Jianshui Lake 30,000 miles away, what do you think?" "Jianshui Lake?" Chen Ronghuo pondered for a moment and said, "Then you go there, and then find a way to lure out the nine-headed true god at the right time." "Yes." Niu Dingtian nodded, said goodbye to Chen Ronghuo, and immediately headed straight for Jianshui Lake. Seeing Niu Dingtian leave, Chen Ronghuo stayed there for a while, and wanted to go to the vicinity of Jianshui Lake first. Just when he was about to act, he raised his eyebrows, opened the attribute panel, and looked at the friend column. The avatar representing Chen Xiao was jumping. "Brother, come back soon, a large number of space cracks have just appeared in our city, and many demons have come out." "A large number of space cracks?" Chen Ronghuo's pupils shrank, thinking of the change just now. Now it seems that this change has even affected the universe where the Earth star is located. It is incredible. He did not hesitate and quit the game directly. He has a lot of feelings for his hometown, so it is impossible for him to let a group of demons harm it. In the bedroom, Chen Ronghuo opened his eyes and immediately saw a woman in a white dress with a delicate face, looking at him with a smile in the corner of her eyes. "Why are you looking at me like this?" Chen Ronghuo was startled, and stepped forward to hold Li Shue's hand. "I'm afraid you will run away." Li Shue leaned on Chen Ronghuo like water, wrapped her arms around Chen Ronghuo's waist, and leaned her head on Chen Ronghuo's chest. After learning that Chen Ronghuo had transformed into Su Shang and killed tens of thousands of players in the Tianfeng Valley, she has been worried about Chen Ronghuo. Others see Chen Ronghuo's majesty, but she sees the danger in the majesty. Chen Ronghuo patted Li Shue's delicate back, "Don't worry, these days will soon be over. In the game of gods, you can quickly improve your strength by gaining experience points." Chen Ronghuo estimated that it would not take long for him to return to the top, or even break through to a higher level. This process may take 2 years, or even just 1 year, or even shorter. Of course, in addition to the magic of the game of gods, it is also related to the fact that he landed in the world of gods too many years ahead of others and has an incredible background. Otherwise, no matter what, he would not be able to match those gods of the past, and improve his cultivation to the present level in a short time. "I hope so." Li Shue let go of Chen Ronghuo, lowered his head, and looked at his belly. Chen Ronghuo also looked there. Li Shue's belly was not bulging, but Chen Ronghuo could sense that there was a vibrant life in it, being nurtured. "Dad, Mom, Director Guo." After a while, Chen Ronghuo, who quickly changed into a white shirt and white pants, walked out of the bedroom with Li Shue and came to the living room. Chen Ronghuo didn't care about dressing, but Li Shue liked white, so Chen Ronghuo just let it go. In the living room, in addition to Chen's father and mother, and Chen Xiao, there was a middle-aged man and a young woman. Chen Ronghuo knew the middle-aged man, who was the head of the SpecialAbilities Management Bureau. During this period, there were often demonized lives in the world of gods, accidentally coming out of the space cracks and wreaking havoc on the earth. Because the level of these demons was not very high, Chen Ronghuo did not take action. But Chen's father and mother, Chen Xiao and Li Shue, all took action. Every time they took action, the people of the SpecialAbilities Management Bureau were amazed. And the words Sicheng Chen family became more and more known as Chen's father and mother took action several times. It was for this reason that a large number of demons appeared near Sicheng this time, and Guo Weiman soon came to the Chen family. "I plan to ask the Chen family to help solve this trouble." Seeing Chen Ronghuo walk out, Chen's father Chen Yushang said solemnly, "Ronghuo, Director Guo just said that this time not only a large number of space cracks appeared near our city, but also demons invaded. This is the case in major cities across the country and even the world. The country is capable of solving the invasion of demons, some of which are low-level demons, even if there are huge numbers. But the key is that there are too many places where space cracks appeared this time. Some demons hid directly after coming out, and no one knows where they are. If these demons are ignored, these hidden demons will cause great losses to the people once they come out to cause chaos later. I know. Chen Ronghuo nodded. On the side, Guo Weiman saw the scene and his mind moved slightly. He has always thought that the head of the Chen family is Chen Yushang, a wealthy man who was originally famous in Su City. But now it seems that the head of the Chen family is Chen Yushang's son, Chen Ronghuo. He had seen Chen Ronghuo when he joined the Sicheng Ability User Management Bureau. But it was only once, and he never saw him again. This made him look at Chen Ronghuo deeply. Chen Ronghuo placed his consciousness on the ancient book in the Sea of Soul, and began to use the ancient book to deduce which demons invaded the earth this time. After a moment, he opened his eyes slightly and said to Guo Weiman, "Director Guo, there are a total of 872 demons that invaded our Sicheng this time. Most of them are first and second level demons, 13 third level demons, and 4 fourth level demons. Next, I will take action to deal with the third and fourth level monsters near Sicheng. As for the other monsters..." Halfway through his words, Chen Ronghuo stretched out his hand and condensed a talisman out of thin air in front of Guo Weiman's surprised eyes. He placed the talisman on the table beside him, and as his consciousness moved again, he condensed dozens of identical talismans in succession. These talismans, after activation, can show the location of those first and second level monsters. I'll leave it to you, Director Guo. Immediately, Chen Ronghuo's consciousness moved again, and he began to use his natal talisman to generate other talismans of this kind. And these are the distribution map of monsters near Yunqing. These are the distribution map of monsters near Daiwanchen. In a short period of time, Chen Ronghuo actually generated hundreds of talismans and piled them on the table in front of Guo Weiman. This, thank you, Mr. Chen. Guo Weiman looked at the talismans on the table excitedly. He didn't know how Chen Ronghuo knew where the demons were, but if all this was true, then Chen Ronghuo would have helped them a lot. With these things, they wanted to eliminate the demons that invaded the Red Country, and the efficiency would be greatly improved. But at the same time, he was also deeply shocked by what Chen Ronghuo had just said. The third and fourth level demons near Sicheng were solved by Chen Ronghuo. What level of ability user is Chen Ronghuo? The game of gods has just begun, and those gods of the past should be like this, right? Guo Weiman couldn't believe that Chen Ronghuo actually had such strength. But he looked at Chen's father and mother on the side, and saw that the two of them were not at all strange, and he couldn't help but believe it. If Chen Ronghuo didn't have this ability, how could Chen's father and mother be like this? Which parent doesn't care about the safety of their son? Director Guo, you're welcome. I'm also an external staff member of our Sicheng Ability User Management Bureau. Chen Ronghuo smiled and continued, but there is no time to lose, I will not delay, I will go and get rid of those demons. Okay. Guo Weiman didn't know what to say. When Chen Ronghuo walked out of the villa, he hurriedly followed him. But as soon as Chen Ronghuo walked out of the villa, he had an idea, took out the Chaos Flying Sword, shot it out, and at the same time took a step, stepped on the flying sword, and flew straight to a place in Su City. Seeing Chen Ronghuo step into the air, step on the flying sword, and fly straight into the sky, Guo Weiman was stunned for a while. Only practitioners above the third level can fly in the air. As far as he knows, the current Earth star, the bright surface, there is not a single level 3 cultivator on the planet. The young woman following Guo Weiman also had a strange look in her eyes. In today's world, only strong men like Chen Ronghuo are real golden sons-in-law. Unfortunately, she glanced at Li Shui, who had just walked out with Chen Ronghuo, and her thoughts immediately sank. No matter what aspect, she could not compare with Li Shui. Chen Ronghuo's speed was something that many level 6 cultivators could not match. and level 6 cultivators would not need much time to cross 1,000 miles. Swish! Chen Ronghuo flew in the air and arrived in front of a half-built high-rise building in the old city of Sicheng. With just one glance, Chen Ronghuo saw that the other half of the half-built high-rise building must have been swallowed by a space crack that appeared earlier. More than 100 meters away from the high-rise building, more than a dozen people from the Sicheng Ability Management Bureau set up a cordon. At the same time, there were people who originally lived in this high-rise building, crying outside the cordon, wanting to rush into the half-built high-rise building to see if their relatives were still alive, but they were all stopped. A trace of coldness appeared in Chen Ronghuo's eyes. Under his gaze, in the half-rise building, a demon with dripping water, feet and hands, scales all over the body, and a strange fish head, was carefully looking through the gap and staring at the people outside. It seemed that he was considering whether he, a fishman, could deal with so many people outside. Even Chen Ronghuo saw that at the feet of this fishman, there were several bodies that were bitten and broken. I don't know what level the demon inside is, but seeing that it hides inside and dares not come out, it must be limited in strength. We can't wait any longer, there are still many people in other places who need us, we must get rid of this demon as soon as possible. At this time, several people from the Ability Management Bureau discussed it, picked up their weapons, divided into several groups, and approached the tall building from 4 directions. Goo! Suddenly, just when they were about 10 meters away from the tall building, a strange cry suddenly came from the tall building. This strange cry was like a sudden thunderbolt in the darkness, tearing open their soul sea, shaking everyone's soul, and making them all stagnate in place. Swoosh! The strange-looking fishman monster rushed out of the tall building, covered with scales. Jia's claws cut through the air in the void, carrying endless strong winds and a foul smell, and went straight to grab one of the practitioners from the Ability Management Bureau. With the strong winds facing him and the foul smell entering his nose, the practitioner finally broke through the barrier and woke up from his loss of consciousness. But the terrifying claws of the fishman in his eyes made his face change drastically in an instant, revealing a look of despair. Swish! At this moment, a sword light, like the brilliance of a bright star, fell from the sky, cutting through layers of air, and with a swish, swept past the fishman. Cut the fishman in half. This fishman is at the peak of the 2nd level, but has some special talents that can attack people's spirits. It is still in the city. If it is left alone, it will be a disaster for the entire Su city. Therefore, it naturally became Chen Ronghuo's first target. Seeing the hideous fishman in front of him being cut in half by a sword and falling to the ground, the practitioner of the Ability Management Bureau immediately let out a long breath and was extremely grateful. Then he quickly reacted, raised his head suddenly, and looked up into the sky. But as far as he could see, he only saw a sword light, like lightning, catching up with a figure walking in the air, falling at the feet of the man, and quickly going away. Suddenly, he felt a sense of regret in his heart. It was a pity that he couldn't even see Chen Ronghuo's true appearance. Perfect! On a tall building in the distance, a young man excitedly turned on the video of his mobile phone and watched the scene he had just recorded through the video function of his mobile phone. The flying sword fell from the sky, bringing up layers of air waves, slaying the demons with one sword, and then quickly turned around and fell under the feet of a cultivator in white clothes, and quickly flew away. This scene is really shocking. It's just like filming a movie. Even though there are countless cultivators in the world today, and almost everyone has started practicing, a scene like the one just now has never been circulated on the internet. What has been circulated on the internet is that some people rely on equipment or some special secrets to glide at low altitude for a period of time, and the speed is not fast. Like Chen Ronghuo, flying with a sword and disappearing in a flash, there is no one to find. Strong. This is the real strong. I just don't know who this person is, and why he has never appeared on the internet. Solving the danger of fishman demons is just a small episode for Chen Ronghuo. After leaving the old city of Sicheng, Chen Ronghuo flew all the way out of the city. Along the way, he would solve the demons that were causing trouble. As a result, countless people remembered his figure in white clothes, stepping on the sword and leaving in the air. Swish! Swish! The sword energy sprinkled from the void, unrestrained and uninhibited, without a trace of reluctance. All the demons died under Chen Ronghuo's sword. It was as if the sword immortal came to the world, wanting to cleanse the demons in the world. With the ancient book, Chen Ronghuo knew clearly where the powerful demons were hiding, without having to spend any more time. In a short time, he swept away all the powerful demons near Su City. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 624. Are you telling the truth? In the Sicheng ability user administration, a somewhat unbelievable voice came from the phone in Guo Weiman's hand. After returning to the ability user administration, Guo Weiman immediately reported the news about Chen Ronghuo. Hearing the other party's doubts, Guo Weiman smiled and said, "Yes, I have verified that the talismans left by Chen Ronghuo of the Chen family can perfectly sense nearby demons after activation, and will indicate the direction of the demons, the level of the demons, and the abilities of the demons." The voice on the phone excitedly said, "I know, you immediately send people to hold those talismans and go to various cities to support other cities." Guo Weiman assured, "Understood, I have arranged for people to do it, and I will definitely send these talismans to various cities as soon as possible." After hanging up the phone, the commander-in-chief of the ability user administration in the capital of the Red Kingdom couldn't help but take a deep breath. The Sicheng Chen family, or Chen Ronghuo of the Chen family, really makes people feel incredible. With the support of national power, many people in the Red Country have now broken through to the late second stage, but it is still a long way to break through to the third stage. And Chen Ronghuo can now fly with a sword. But what makes him feel most incredible is that Chen Ronghuo actually has this magical secret technique, which can calculate the location of all the demons that invaded the Red Country, and mark them with talismans to give them guidance. Does this omniscient ability mean that if someone wants to harm the Chen family, that person can also calculate it in advance? It's terrifying to think about it. Roar. Outside the city of Yunqing, a half-snake of hundreds of meters long crawled over, leaving a deep snake path and trickling blood wherever it passed. This big snake seemed to have been cut off in half when passing through the space crack. Boom boom boom. The sound of cannons shook the sky. Outside the city of Yunqing, a team of soldiers controlled the cannons and bombarded the giant snake fiercely. But before the shells could get close to the giant snake, they would be twisted to other places by the twisting force. This giant snake was actually a 5th-level demon. If a 5th-level demon used all its strength, it would not take long for it to destroy a city. Especially when the technological weapons on Earth could not threaten it. Roar. The snake roared, making a loud sound like a dragon. Whoosh whoosh. As the snake roared, the sky changed color, and clouds gathered and gradually merged into dark clouds with dark colors. The dark clouds covered the sky and blocked everything. As time passed, nearly half of Yunqing seemed to fall into darkness, and it was pitch black everywhere. Boom. Bomb it with all your strength, and don't let it rush into Yunqing. The officer in charge of blocking the snake roared. However, the shells fired by his men operating the cannons had no effect on the snake. The big snake crawled over, and in a flash, it came to the crowd. It raised its head, and its two eyes like deep pools stared coldly at the army blocking the front of Yunqing, as if it was staring at a group of jumping clowns. The fine and cold scales made people feel cold all over. From the beginning, it didn't take this group of people seriously. It was just that it was a little curious about the weapons of these soldiers, so it didn't kill them directly. And now, it saw these weapons, and it didn't even change at all, straightforward. Only after this move, it suddenly felt bored. Roar! Suddenly, the big snake opened its bloody mouth, and spit out an extremely fishy smell from its mouth, attacking the army in front of it. Suddenly, one soldier after another clenched his fists, revealing a look of despair. Some people raised their guns and shot at the big snake frantically, but the bullets hit the scales of the big snake, but no mark was left. The 5th level big demon is completely beyond the reach of mortals. Even if it were a 1st level cultivator, or even a 2nd level cultivator, it would be difficult to cause much damage to the 5th level demon. Evil beast. At this moment, a cold shout suddenly came from the sky. Then everyone saw a gorgeous flying sword, like a divine weapon, falling from the sky. With a flash, it cut off the head of the terrifying snake that made everyone despair. The snake head rolled to the ground and rolled several times before stopping. What is this? In an instant, everyone raised their heads in horror and looked up at the sky. However, when they raised their heads, the flying sword that killed the snake had already flown away like a stream of light and landed at the feet of a figure in white clothes in the sky. Following the white figure, the figure flashed, and it quickly went away like a fairy god, and disappeared in an instant. Killing a wounded 5th order snake with one sword was as easy as drinking water and eating for Chen Ronghuo. He stepped on the flying sword and continued to fly to other cities without any pause. This time, the world changed and countless space cracks appeared. In the entire Red Country, there were 12 5th order and above monsters. He had to rush to various places as soon as possible to kill these monsters one by one. Report to the Commander-in-Chief, a sword fairy suspected to be from the Sicheng Chen family, Chen Ronghuo, appeared in Yunchinj. He killed a 5th order snake outside Yunchinj with one sword and flew towards Yuanshan city. When Chen Ronghuo rushed to other cities, a message was quickly passed to Wang Zhenhai, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ability User Management Bureau in the capital of the Red Kingdom. After Wang Zhenhai received the news, there was silence for a while. Although he was very excited, feeling lucky for the countless people who had been rescued in Yunchinj. But if there wasn't someone in front of him and he was the highest commander here, he probably couldn't help but curse. Is this a horse still a human? They are the same people, so why is the gap so big? It looks like a 5th level snake. Even if it is seriously injured, you can kill it with one sword. What is the concept? Are those players supported by our entire country trash? Of course, at the same time, another thought came to Wang Zhenhai's mind. It is said that the gods of the past have all reincarnated into the universe where their earth stars are located. Chen Ronghuo is so powerful, even so powerful that he is completely inhuman. Is it possible that this heaven-defying figure is the reincarnation of a certain god? As soon as this idea came out, it took root in his heart uncontrollably. Nowadays, all the major forces in the universe where the Earth star is located are looking for those reincarnations of gods. Once it is spread that Chen Ronghuo is the reincarnation of a god, you can imagine how much shock it will cause. However, he did not dare to have any idea against Chen Ronghuo. Compared with the big forces in the universe, the Red Country is too weak. Even the entire Earth star is too weak. With Chen Ronghuo's ability, if he wanted to, even if he wanted to make the entire Earth star his own country, it would not be impossible. Report to the Commander-in-Chief, news came from Yuanshan city. All the big demons above the 3rd level in the city were killed by a sword-walking practitioner who was suspected to be Chen Ronghuo of the Chen family in Su City. What? Wang Zhenhai raised his voice involuntarily. How long has it been since Chen Ronghuo killed the 5th level snake in Yunchinj? In just such a short time, Chen Ronghuo not only ran to Yuanshan city, but also killed all the 3rd level and above demons in Yuanshan city. Wang Zhenhai felt as if his heart was being strangled by something. Haha! Suddenly, Wang Zhenhai seemed to have thought of something, and laughed loudly in front of his subordinates. Good thing, this is a good thing. We in the Red Country have heroes like Chen Ronghuo, so why not be happy? Wang Zhenhai's subordinates all had different expressions. A free and strong person will usually become the focus of all forces, and everyone wants to take him under his command. This is what the powerful players of Earthstar are like now. Every time a powerful player appears, major forces will rush to woo him. It seems that before, someone also went to Su City to win over the Chen family. But they were all rejected by Father Chen. This made many forces dissatisfied. But the Chen family is not a small player, which is why some people have remained silent until now. But as Chen Ronghuo shows his prowess this time, some forces will definitely think about it. When a person is strong enough to overthrow everything, then he himself is a powerful force. Conquer. These two words are a joke to the truly strong. A few hours later, after Chen Ronghuo slaughtered all the powerful demons that appeared in all the cities of the Red Kingdom, Yu Jian came to the capital of the Red Kingdom and met Wang Zhenhai, the commander-in-chief of the Red Kingdom's ability user administration. Haha, this is Chen Ronghuo. It turns out that a hero comes from a young age. You have really made great achievements this time. Seeing Chen Ronghuo, Wang Zhenhai immediately greeted him cordially. Juvenile. Great merit. Chen Ronghuo shook his head funny. However, he didn't say anything, but went straight to the point. Commander Wang, I came here this time because I want to give you something. His time is very tight, and there are still many things to deal with in the game. Give me something? Wang Zhenhai was startled and looked at Chen Ronghuo unexpectedly, wondering what Chen Ronghuo was going to hand over to him. Chen Ronghuo flipped his wrist and activated the original talisman of his life, condensing talismans with complex patterns out of thin air. The speed at which he condensed the talismans this time was slower than before when he was in front of Guo Weiman, the head of Su City's Ability User Administration Bureau. Because this time, the talismans he condensed were all 5th level offensive talismans. These talismans cannot be stored for too long, but there is still no problem if they are stored for 3 days. This is. Seeing the talismans condensed by Chen Ronghuo, Wang Zhenhai's pupils shrank. He had extraordinary knowledge, which was not comparable to that of Guo Weiman. Among the players trained by the Red Kingdom, some have brought out several 3rd-level talismans from the game. But those 3rd-level talismans, in terms of complexity, are far from comparable to the talismans that Chen Ronghuo condensed in a short period of time. This is a top-grade 5th-level offensive talisman that I condensed with energy. It can last for 3 days. Within 3 days, if you activate it, every 2 talismans can probably kill a 5th-level monster invading the Earth star. Chen Ronghuo explained to Wang Zhenhai, as for the 4th-level monsters, you only need to activate 1 to kill them. In an instant, Wang Zhenhai's hand holding the talismans trembled, and he almost didn't let go, scattering the talismans all over the floor. Holding this thing, he felt like he was holding a pile of explosives. The talisman that can kill 5th-level monsters may be able to turn him into ashes with just the remaining power. My time is limited. Commander Wang will take care of the big demons in other places, Chen Ronghuo said to Wang Zhenhai with a smile. Wang Zhenhai immediately understood what Chen Ronghuo meant. Chen Ronghuo wanted to leave. His heart tightened, and he hurriedly said, Friend Chen, you have made great contributions this time. I would like to invite you to join the General Administration of the Red Country's Ability Management Bureau as the Chief Consultant. How about it? Don't worry, after you become the Chief Consultant of the Management Bureau, you don't need to waste time dealing with miscellaneous matters. I just hope you can help when the Red Country encounters a big crisis. After saying that, Wang Zhenhai immediately looked at Chen Ronghuo with an expectant look. Okay. Chen Ronghuo nodded, without being hypocritical. He didn't actually expect the Red Country to help him much, but he was in this country, he had lived from childhood to adulthood, received education from this country, enjoyed the welfare of this country, and naturally recognized this country. If possible, he certainly wouldn't mind giving some help to the Red Country. I really didn't make a mistake, Wang Zhenhai laughed, his face flushed, and he looked at Chen Ronghuo with a very pleasing look. He took the talismans that Chen Ronghuo gave him and assured Chen Ronghuo, Mr. Chen, don't worry. With these talismans, we will definitely handle the next things. Mr. Chen, if you have urgent matters, you can go anytime. In that case, I will say goodbye to Commander Wang now. Chen Ronghuo nodded, without any courtesy, and after saying goodbye to Wang Zhenhai, he swung his flying sword, flew into the sky, and flew towards Sicheng. On the ground, Wang Zhenhai and his men watched Chen Ronghuo's figure quickly disappearing, and they didn't look away for a long time. If it were other people, who wouldn't be terrified and cautious in front of Wang Zhenhai? Only Chen Ronghuo was too free and easy in front of Wang Zhenhai. However, everyone also knew that with the strength that Chen Ronghuo had shown before, Chen Ronghuo was qualified to do so no matter who he was in front of on earth. After a long time, Wang Zhenhai lowered his head and looked at the handful of talismans in his hand. These talismans can only exist for 3 days, and they must be used well. At this time, all the big demons in the Red Country had been killed by Chen Ronghuo, and these talismans were no longer needed. But on Earth, there is more than one country, the Red Country. Other countries are still trembling under the threat of big demons. In the past, although the Red Country was a big country on Earth, its military strength was not the strongest, so it was not particularly strong. And this time, the Red Country got these talismans from Chen Ronghuo, and it can fully promote the power of a big country on Earth and gain many benefits. Wang Zhenhai's eyes flashed with brilliance. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 625. The earth was broken, with deep valleys running through it. Those valleys were tens of meters deep, hundreds of meters deep, and thousands of meters deep. In the valleys, dark smoke came out from time to time, and when the wind blew, there was a burst of ghosts and wolves howling. Including Niu Dingtian, a dozen figures followed a young man with narrow eyes and a faint green light in his eyes to come here, all with different faces. This place is a Jedi. In the last battle of the ancient times, Chen Ronghuo's men and the people of the Black Demon Palace almost blew up the newly built Evil God Mountain of the 314th level strongmen, Ghost Ancestor, Corpse King, and Bone Saint. And this place is rumored to be the edge of the final battle site. It's just that after the gods left, this place was somehow moved here in the great changes in the world of the gods. Master Zhuling, we have set up a formation here, can those players come? The former Shadow God, whose player name is Shadow Venerable, asked doubtfully. Hearing his words, the young man leading the way turned his head. He was the former peak god Juda Zhenshen, the vice leader of the Northern Gods Alliance, and his player name was Zhuling Fashion. When Chen Ronghuo was still on the ranking list, he was also on the list, ranking 37th on the ranking list. It can be said that among all the gods, he is also a top figure. Whether they can come depends on whether the chips are enough. Zhuling Fashion sneered. While speaking, he led everyone to fly forward for 200 or 300 miles and came to a mountain hanging upside down. This mountain was pitch black, with the top of the mountain below and the bottom of the mountain above, hanging upside down in a huge abyss. From a distance, it was surrounded by endless black air and demonic energy. When he was still 300 meters away from the inverted mountain, Zhuling Fashion stopped, and then he flipped his hand and took out a talisman that was all yellow. I accepted a mission and knew that there was a fragment of a divine artifact here. With the name of the fragment of a divine artifact and our people, it is enough to attract those players. Roar. Zhuling Fashion activated the old yellow talisman in his hand. A series of mysterious lights shot out from the talisman, and suddenly turned into a huge anusless beast, opening its mouth and swallowing the inverted mountain in the distance. Hualala! Amid the deafening roar of the beast, the inverted mountain suddenly shook, and pieces of rocks fell from the inverted mountain. Some fell into the depths of the abyss. Some were suspended in the air when they fell halfway, forming a wonder of the ages. Roar! The huge beast roared continuously, causing the inverted mountain to vibrate more and more violently. Bang! Suddenly, the inverted mountain collapsed completely. A beam of white light, with endless coldness, rushed out from the center of the inverted mountain, like a white bone claw, breaking open the grave, grabbing out from the 9 netherworld, and appearing in the world. Everyone's pupils shrank. Buzz! At this moment, the 9 spirits god suddenly stretched out his hand, and the huge anusless beast swallowed the white beam into its body, and then quickly shrank and fell into the hands of the 9 spirits god. Master Zhuling, I don't know what it is. The Shadow Venerable asked curiously. He used to be a middle-level god, and he was powerful. Among the dozen gods participating in this operation, he was also a top-notch existence. The tone of Zhuling fashion was somewhat inexplicable, as if he was sighing, a fragment of the artifact left behind by the god Bone General of the Heavenly Bone Territory, who was under the seat of the Black Demon Heavenly Palace in the past. The god Bone General is the strongest of the 7 generals under the seat of the Heavenly Bone General. Like Zhuling fashion, they are both at the peak of the divine realm. In the battle to seal the demons before the final battle, Zhuling fashion had fought against the god Bone General, and in the end, the two could not determine the winner. And now, he has to reincarnate and cultivate again. His cultivation has just recovered to the 5th level. As for the god Bone General, it is even more miserable. His soul has been scattered, and even his own lifelong divine weapon has turned into fragments and scattered in the continent of gods. After the words fell, Zhuling fashion looked up and looked at the upside-down mountain in the distance. Without the artifact fragments of the god Bone General hiding, the upside-down mountain, which was completely cracked and divided into huge rocks, still floated above the abyss. Obviously, this mountain has become magical under the radiation of the artifact fragments of the god Bone General. The final place for the formation is determined here. Zhuling fashion said in a deep voice, I will use the artifact fragments of the god Bone General to set up a killing formation. When the formation is completed, there will be divine light rising into the sky, and mirages will appear within thousands of miles. At that time, combined with your actions, those players will surely be attracted. After that, Zhuling fashion looked at everyone again and said, the formation I plan to set this time is called the Great 5 Elements Reversal Formation. I will now teach you the method of activating it. When the time comes, you will activate the formation with me and provide a source of power for the formation, which can increase the power of the formation. Good, everyone shouted immediately. Those ants actually regarded us as prey. I have long wanted to teach them a lesson. Niu Dingtian also complimented Zhuling fashion with everyone else. But his mind was all on how to follow Chen Ronghuo's plan and lead the 9 spirits to another place alone. Finally, the 9 spirits gave him instructions and told him all the methods on how to assist him in activating the Great 5 Elements Reversal Formation. After everyone realized this, Zhuling Dharma God immediately ordered everyone to follow his plan and start attracting players from all major forces near this Jedi place, trying to attract enough players. Soon, everyone left one by one. Niu Dingtian hesitated for a moment and did not leave with the others. Why, what else do you have to do? Zhuling Dharma God looked at Niu Dingtian and asked in an indifferent tone. Although Niu Dingtian is also a god, he was just a low-level god in the past, and the gap between him and the peak god is simply incomparable. Just like a 10th level strongman facing a 13th level strongman, he is simply unable to resist. Niu Dingtian followed the plan he had planned in advance and still looked hesitant. Under the gaze of Zhuling Dharma God, almost sweating on his forehead, he gritted his teeth and said, Report to Zhuling Sir, I do have something to say to you. What's up? Juling Dharma God's curiosity was finally aroused. I discovered Yuningbing, the inheritance place of the former true god of frost. After saying this, Niu Dingtian exhaled a long breath, as if he had finally vomited out the secret in his heart. What did you say? The eyes of Juling Dharma God suddenly lit up. The true god of frost does not belong to any divine alliance, but is a lone god. But when Chen Ronghuo was still on the level ranking list, Yuningbing was ranked more than 10 on the level ranking list, so we can know how powerful she is among many gods. Now that Yuningbing has been confirmed dead, Niu Dingtian said that he discovered the inheritance place left by Yuningbing, which is of great significance and is simply unimaginable. Except for the dozen or so strong men above half-step pillar gods in the past, any other gods would not be at peace if they learned about this. Yuningbing has been confirmed to be dead, so the inheritance she left behind can naturally be inherited by other gods. Will you tell me such a good thing? However, it only took an instant for Juling Dharma God to calm down. He looked at Niu Dingtian with a trace of searching in his eyes. I found traces of players there. Although there are only dozens of 4th level players there, it is still difficult to deal with them based on my strength. Niu Dingtian did not hesitate this time. Juling Dharma God raised his eyebrows. If it is the inheritance place of other gods, other players will not be able to obtain the inheritance even if they find the place. But it's hard to say where the fallen Yuningbing's inheritance came from. He pondered for a moment and then said, how far is it from here? Niu Dingtian said, that place is on the border between the Land of Chaos and the Taishu Empire, about 50,000 miles away from here. However, if we go to the nearest city first and then turn around through the teleportation array, it won't take much time. Okay, you go to the nearest city and wait for me. I will set up the formation first, and then I will go find you. Juling Dharma God looked at Niu Dingtian and said, if this time I can achieve something in the inheritance land of the Frost True God, Harvest, you can follow me from now on. Yes. Niu Dingtian showed some excitement, then said goodbye to Juling Dharma God, turned around and flew towards the nearest city. Looking at Niu Dingtian's leaving figure, Juling Dharma God frowned slightly. After thinking about it, he still followed the plan, took out a large amount of materials he had collected during this period, and set up a large 5 elements inversion formation with the hanging mountain in the distance as the core. A few hours later, he completed the arrangement of the formation, but he did not immediately exit the nearby city. Instead, he exited the game. For safety reasons, he changed his body before logging back into the game. Before he logged into the game, it was his body. This time, he changed into a game body. As the peak god in the past, his game body has 8 opportunities to be resurrected, and there is no experience penalty after death. Unlike ordinary players, every time you die, you will not be able to gain experience points for several months. After doing all this, he immediately contacted Niu Dingtian and flew straight to the nearby city. Wood Spirit Star Territory. A huge sacred tree in the void made a voice, how is the gathering of our personnel? Reporting to General False God, our Wood God Alliance has gathered nearly 3,000 4th level players to go to Beeling City in the Taishu Empire. There is plenty of time this time, and more people will be gathering later. And with this operation, we have someone to help us, and other forces will also take action together. We will definitely take down all the dozens of reincarnated gods. A figure stood under the sacred tree, vowing to speak. This operation is different from the past. This time, except for the major forces in the Earth Star universe, all will unite, and they have a very powerful trump card. In other words, after many efforts, they finally established contact with a person who was the reincarnation of a former god. It was precisely because of that god who acted as the internal response that they were confident in this action. The sacred tree said, I heard that the one who presided over this operation among the gods was a peak god in the past. If he logs into the game in his true form this time, try to capture him alive. Yes. In the Taishu Empire, outside the demonic wood city, there is the Aoki Manu leveling point. There is a kind of second-level demonized life called Aoki Barbarian Bull all over this place. This kind of demonized life refreshes relatively quickly and can be refreshed 4 times a day, so there are many second-level players in Demonic Wood City and even other cities nearby for leveling. Chen Ronghuo was wearing a sports suit, with his hands in his pockets, standing outside the leveling point, raising his head, looking at the players in the distance, fighting with the Aoki bulls. Naturally, he had no interest in fighting at this level. It's like a master who is proficient in computers watching a beginner practice typing full of mistakes. He stood here, just waiting for Niu Dingtian to attract the person he needed. "Friend, what level of player are you? Do you want to join us?" Suddenly, 2 players, a man and a woman, walked up to Chen Ronghuo and asked him. Chen Ronghuo turned his head and saw the woman among the 2 players, wearing a light green dress, with a delicate appearance, and a vague look in her eyes, as if there was a green leaf spinning constantly. The man was dressed in white. If you look carefully, there seems to be a green leaf in his eyes, but unlike the woman, the green leaves in his eyes are fixed and motionless. Seeing Chen Ronghuo turn his head, the man said, "I am a level 26 player, and my sister is level 25. It's just the 2 of us. It's a little difficult to deal with these Aoki bulls. My friend, if your level is about the same as us, you might as well come with us." "No, I'm waiting for someone." Chen Ronghuo shook his head. Players in all the major star regions of Earth Star are almost all in human form. But compared to the humans on Earth, many have some special characteristics. He looked at the 2 of them and warned, "Wait a moment, this place may be dangerous. If you don't want to be affected, it's best to leave here." "Danger? What's the meaning?" The brother and sister were both startled. They didn't expect to get such an answer from Chen Ronghuo. They looked into the distance and saw hundreds of players fighting the Aoki bull in this leveling point. With so many players here, what danger could there be? The brother and sister looked at each other and both understood what the other was thinking. Isn't this person mentally ill? Or maybe someone wants to take advantage of this leveling point and plan to clear it out? Thank you for the reminder. If there is any danger, our brothers and sisters will leave immediately. Thinking about this, the 2 of them thanked Chen Ronghuo and walked to the Aoki bull's leveling point together. If Chen Ronghuo doesn't join, then he won't join. Together, the 2 of them, although the efficiency is lower, are not unable to kill the Aoki bull. Seeing the 2 people leaving, Chen Ronghuo shook his head and said nothing more. But just when the 2 of them were more than 100 meters away, Chen Ronghuo's expression suddenly changed and he turned his head to look in one direction. Wherever he looked, he immediately saw 2 escaping lights, rushing here from the direction of Demonic Wood City, as if planning to travel a long distance to the border between the Taishu Empire and the Land of Chaos. Coming. A smile appeared on Chen Ronghuo's face. He has been here, waiting for 20 minutes. The exemption is limited to 2 days. It is difficult to update frequently now, so the limit is still 4,000 words per day during the limited exemption period.